taking what they're giving because I'm working for a living.
This is the Checka Pro Radio Show, sponsored by CheckaPro.com. To find pre-qualified local service providers, click on CheckaPro.com. Here's your host, the man with a hard hat and tool belt, Jim Klauck.
And that is me. Welcome to the Checka Pro Radio Show. I am Jim Klauck, a.k.a. Checka Pro Joe. Today, on my radio show, we are going to be talking about generators, whole house generators. When your power goes off, you want to have the power back on immediately. And you can do that with a generator. And we're going to get right into this right now. Tony Kataya is joining me here on the Checka Pro Radio Show. Tony, how are you?
Great to be back.
I love talking to you because I love this conversation about generators. I don't think generators have ever been more popular in the United States of America as far as the average homeowner having access to a whole home backup power system. You know, like to call it, your own power plant, right? I think it's amazing. Am I right in my thinking that there has been no other time in U.S. history where people have access to great generators like Generac?
You're absolutely right. There's not been another opportunity in time because although there have been generators, since the turn of the century for our use, it's just not been economical. There were these giant, massive generating machines for plants and manufacturing and commercial use possibly, and definitely generating power for the grid. However, it's just been in the past, probably 50 years that they've kind of catered to residential. And so, a whole home generator has really been kind of out of the question economically until more recently, past, 15, 20 years. And now, we had talked in the past about it too, it's becoming expected almost when someone's purchasing a home these days. It's definitely a question they're asking.
I love the affordability, and I don't think you and I talk enough about this, and I don't want people to tune out because they think that this is something beyond what they can afford. And really, the argument is you can't afford not to get a Generac generator. I know it's hard to quote over the air, but is it safe to say that the average homeowner listening to us today in the greater Houston area could expect to pay no more than $200 a month to be outfitted with their own Generac generator?
That is absolutely correct. Most of these residential homes will easily $200 or less, maybe just under $180, something like that, can definitely afford to have a generator for the whole home. And the difference too from years ago is that, anybody can go get a little portable generator, but then what do you do at that point? You got to deal with dragging it out, literally, because you can't run it indoors. It has to be outside in the elements. So if you're in a hurricane, now you're getting rained on and lightning and, debris and all kinds of issues that you shouldn't be outside trying to get the generator up and running. And then it doesn't do what a whole home generator will do. You have to pick and choose what's important to you. Do you want just the refrigerators to run? That's typically what people do to keep their food from spoiling. Most of the time, these smaller generators, although they may run a windy unit, something like that, they're not going to run, 2 or 3 condensing units, big AC units on a normal size house these days. And so it's just, and then it's going to run out of fuel at the worst possible time. So it's 2 a.m. and you hear it shut off. And you're like, oh my gosh, now I've got to go get up. It's, 90 degrees in the house, go put gasoline in the generator. Anyway, there's all kinds of problems with it. And so this is just a safer, more reliable whole home, just purchase it and forget about it type situation.
I was just thinking about that as you were talking. We take for granted indoor plumbing. We have toilets, we have hot water, cold water, we have supply lines and the drain lines, the waste lines. Can you imagine today going outside, having to use an outhouse, trying to figure out how to wash your hands, and then come back in to go back to sleep? Well, that's kind of the generator story. Having indoor plumbing is like having a whole home generator. And then going outside to do your business in an outhouse is like having a portable generator that you have to constantly maintain, as far as put a gas in it, make sure that the, fumes aren't, killing you and your pets. And what are you going to actually be powering? You actually have to make a decision ahead of time if you're going to integrate it at that level. That's a whole nother story. Or you're just going to have extension cords everywhere plugged into it, until it doesn't work anymore because you plug too much in and it can't, generate that type of electricity. What you do is great at Action Generator with Generac generators is that you properly size the generator. And it is going to, when installed correctly, which you guys do, going to replace the grid power, replace the utility power that's coming into your home as if it had never left. 15, 30 seconds, maybe tops. It's cranking up and replacing at the same level. So the lights aren't dimming, the AC's working, the stove works, the oven works, the lights work, the television works, the router works, because you're generating your own power. Did I get that right?
That is absolutely the case. That's exactly how it works. And, the lag time typically most residential homes is, like you said, 10 to 15, maybe 20 seconds. It's so quick. We're just spoiled. And it's a fantastic way to do it.
Tony, I'm going to give out your phone number right now. And then after I give it out, I'm going to explain why people should call. 281-805-8340. Action Generator. Tony is the head honcho. He is the owner of the company. 281-805-8340. We had mentioned that for under $200, most of us who are in the greater Houston area with a standard home will be able to get a Generac generator for somewhere $200 or just under, which is great. Let's talk about the other things that you're going to be throwing in for free, Tony. I see here in my notes a free consultation. Not all generator companies will do that, but you guys come out absolutely free. And I asked you for some other things too to sweeten up the deal. I wanted you guys to stand apart from the average company selling Generac generators. We've all heard of Generac. It's a great brand. It's the number one brand out there, but not all local Houston generator companies are like Action. And that's the big difference, everybody. You guys are offering a free surge protector that will protect the entire home as well. And on top of that, you won't get anywhere else, a service agreement for the first year, ordinarily $475, free. You guys come out twice a year. Did I get that right?
That's right. Absolutely.
Wow. Fantastic. So everybody, call now for a free, no obligation consultation. Tony and his team will come out and take a look. 281-805-8340. Only 8 of my listeners are going to get in on this deal today because Tony cannot give out free surge protection, cannot give out free service agreements to everybody who goes to his website, everybody who calls. Only for my listeners here on the Check A Pro radio show today. Get your free surge protector. Get the free consultation. Get the free year service agreement, which we'll talk about that in a moment, Tony, how important it is to make sure that you have your generator serviced on a regular basis. Call now. Only 8 of my listeners get this. 281-805-8340. Tony, I said it's no obligation because if someone does call and they decide they're not going to want to buy a generator, you don't hold them to it. You just want to have a chance to go out and educate them.
That's absolutely right. And just to let them know what it's going to take to power their entire house. Every once in a while, it's just something that they're going to decide not to do today, and it's okay. But we have people following up with us literally years later and just say, hey, I talked to you, it's almost 2 years now, and I know the pricing's probably changed. However, I really think that we're ready to pull the trigger on this. Can we talk more about it? And absolutely we can. Let's get it done.
So call now, 281-805-8340. Jerry, my producer's talking in my ear. He told me Only 7 of these left. Someone is taking advantage of it. They're calling 281-805-8340. No obligation, free consultation. When you get your new generator, it'll be probably just under $200 a month, which is great. If not, you can pay cash. Not a big deal. You can write a check. You're going to get a free surge protector, and you are going to get the first year service agreement valued at $475, absolutely free. Jerry tells me only 7 left. 281-805-8340. Jerry also tells me that TJ is on the phone, and TJ is one of your customers, Tony, and he says he can't wait to tell everybody about his experience. So let's go out to the phones right now.
Great.
So TJ, how long have you had your Generac generator from Action Generator?
I've had my generator for about 2 years.
Have you had a chance to really use it with any type of major outage?
Absolutely. During Hurricane Beryl, we were down without power for about 5 days. We were one of the only few homes in the neighborhood that had a generator, and it was beautiful having air conditioning and electricity while the repairs were underway.
There's something special about being protected when others aren't. And it sounds horrible when you say that, but you know, it's kind of like when you run into your house when it's raining outside. You're like, gosh, it's so nice to be protected. I feel sorry for those people outside who are getting wet. There's just something nice about having that peace of mind, knowing that you're doing the best you can for yourself and your family by having a generator. What drove you to decide to get one? Because, you know, whole house generators have been around for some time. Why now?
There's a sense of security that goes with having a generator. You know, look, I think when you take into account that most of us are working from home post-pandemic, and you have a family, kids that are so used to being connected to the internet, when the power goes out, we don't know what to do. And so the ability to work through those 4 days, when 4 to 5 days when the neighborhood didn't have power, the ability to not have my kids complain that they didn't have technology in their hands, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is, goes a long way. And not to mention that we don't have to worry about the groceries going bad. We don't have to worry about the meat spoiling, the milk spoiling. It's all there, and without a blink, the generator kicks on 30 seconds after the power goes out. I don't have to do anything.
Absolutely. It's like there isn't a problem, meaning it goes on so quickly and it powers everything in your home as if you were getting the original power from your utility company. And I kind of joke with people, TJ, I say, having a Generac generator is like having your own power plant.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I was looking for generators, I came across Action Generator through a quick Google search. And when I talked to Action Generator, they were very upfront and honest and said, look, we're not going to be the cheapest in the marketplace. We're not going to be the most expensive, but here's what we're going to get. You're going to get a family. You're going to get someone that comes out, services your generator 4 times a year. You're going to get a number that you can call, not a recording. You're going to have a higher level of consistency and service with us. And overall, we don't just sell you something and disappear. We're there for the long haul. And truly, that's why we call ourselves a family. And, you know, everything that has occurred with our generator, whether it kicks on, whether I have app access problems, whether the service intervals, I'm curious on whether or not when they're coming out so I could keep the dog in. They always answer the phone. They're always informative. They've always called me back. They're very upfront, honest, transparent, and they have a high level of integrity. And all the techs that worked on this project were super knowledgeable. In fact, the owner came out for the project to even oversee it for a couple of hours. Another testament to how they take the long-term approach to the relationship. And what I would tell you is on our particular job, the gals that answer the phone, Maddie and Madeline, were actually out here watching the install so they could be more informative when they were answering the phone to prospective clients.
Yeah, that's actually pretty smart. Everybody should take their admin staff, customer service reps, everyone inside the office, and take them out into the field. It's like if you're in the manufacturing business, you know, your office staff should at least go on one tour of how things are made. It's smart and it's helpful.
if somebody's considering this product and money is an issue, I would encourage them that the convenience and peace of mind when the power goes out outweighs the overall cost. And I say that because in Houston, you have no idea when the power is going to go out and how long it's going to be out, especially with hurricanes and natural disasters. Since we've installed our generator, we've had 30% more of our neighborhood installed generators. And I can't say enough good about the Action Generator team.
Yeah, TJ, having a generator, I don't know if that's even an option today. And, in terms of cost, I was thinking about what you were saying as you were saying it. People spend more money per month to insure, their home, their car, maybe even their life. And wouldn't you agree that having a Generac generator, let's say it costs a couple $100s a month, whatever it would cost if someone were putting on a payment plan, is a great investment as an insurance policy to keep the power on?
For sure. And not to mention that the value of the home when and if you decide to sell your home on the back end, I think any prospective buyer in the secondary market, if they see a generator, that's a positive point to looking and buying a home. I think for a few $100 a month that you are buying security for you and your family.
I totally agree. Well, TJ, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So TJ, absolutely in love with you guys, but he really feels secure, Tony, about the fact that he and his family are totally protected with their new Generac generator.
We get that all the time. In fact, people call on a regular basis just to tell us, look, there's not a problem with the generator. We're extremely happy. I just wanted to let you know that we're out of power from the grid, but we're the only house on the block that our lights are on and our air conditioner's running. And so we just get a kick out of that. It's the coolest phone call ever. And it's worth every minute, spending to get it installed for them.
Absolutely. If you want to be as happy and secure as TJ and also get up to speed with your neighbors, because as you drive through your neighborhood, you're seeing more and more generators. As you hear us talk, Tony and I today, about Generac, a lot of things are starting to click in your head now. You're like, I've seen that. I've seen the Generac name. My neighbor has a generator, and I think it said Generac. If you see orange, that's one of their telltale colors, if you will. That's a big color they use, right? Generac. Also, you may have seen ads or heard ads. Generac is the number one generator that people install in their homes. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. It's 80% of the residential market in the United States. So if you just think about that number, and that's why we're an exclusive Generac dealer, that number just floored me. Mm. If you have 8 out of 10, you look up and down the street, if you're in a subdivision, 8 out of 10 homes, if they all decide to have a generator, 8 of those are going to be a Generac. To me, that's just a testament to the strength of the corporation that has been doing the right things for 60 years now. It's just, you can't find companies like that anymore.
Here's the great news. Tony, you decided that when you got into this business, you were going all in. You're a Generac exclusive dealer. The reason why I bring this up is there are a lot of companies that you can call who can sell you a generator. It's kind of like a jack of all trades. They're like, well, here, pick a card, any card. Which one do you want? We can do all kinds of generators. Tony, you're all in with Generac, which makes it a lot easier because when you install a Generac, when you service a Generac, you know Generac. It actually makes it easier for you guys to do your job. What are some other reasons why you chose to go deep with Generac and not wide with a bunch of others?
One of the biggest reasons is you have to have your staff laser focused on the product that you're selling and installing and managing. And those folks that are dealers, in my opinion, that have multiple brands, now they don't have the specialty as far as tooling, to repair. They don't have the training that is just laser focused on the one product line. And that list goes on and on. The parts, our parts room has only Generac specific parts in it. So we're not going to say, well, what brand was that again? And so we have multiple, but we're focused on that Generac generator. What is it going to take for us to keep and maintain that generator over time? And from training and there's different training, right? So you have training on air cooled, which is typically most of these residential generators. And then you have liquid cooled, a bigger home or small business. You have to have training for all those in commercial applications and on and on. But that's why it's so important is that our office staff, they know Generac. When we talk about different parts and service agreements and what's involved in the maintenance schedule, it's all specific to this Generac generator, period.
Yeah, I love it. If I had a heart condition and I needed my heart operated on, as good as the brain surgeon is, not interested. Or how about the general practitioner you go to? Okay.
That's right.
They're doing everything from diagnosing the flu to giving you a physical. So my point is they're general, not specific to something. And I like the fact that if you need a part, it's going to be for a Generac generator. It's that simple. It's kind of like, are you guys a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC company? Oh, you do roofing too? Well, hold on a second. It'd be nice if you were just an HVAC company, because I know you can just service my heating and air conditioning system versus my roof too. It doesn't seem to make sense. With having all of these different brands of generators, I don't think that serves the community well. Here is Tony's phone number, everybody. Call now for your no obligation, free consultation. There is no obligation, like I said. Tony and his team will come out. They'll take a look at your home, your property, and tell you what they recommend. And like he said, most people for under $200 a month are going to be able to have this benefit, this peace of mind. Tony's number, 281-805-8340. 281-805-8340. Only 5 of these opportunities are left. You're going to also get, when you get your new generator, something that no one else is going to get unless they're listening to the radio program today. They're going to get not just the free consultation, a free surge protector. That's a whole home surge protector, which arguably is worth thousands of dollars, because when it does its job, it is saving your appliances. It is saving your computers, your televisions, and things that are susceptible to a surge. Also, you're going to get a service agreement for 1 year, ordinarily $475, absolutely free. You've got to call now, 281-805-8340, 281-805-8340. Let's talk a little bit about you and your family, Tony. This is really family owned and operated, isn't it?
Absolutely. We like it that way because the culture is that we want to treat everybody like family. So it does make it simpler whenever you have family all around you during the day while you were at work. And so it's been a real pleasure to do that. We've been blessed in that way to have that. My son, Anthony, he's running the service end of this business and the installation and that kind of thing. And Amy, who you've talked to quite a bit, she kind of keeps me in line and manages our office staff and keeps me doing the right things. So that's good. And it's just knowing that everyone has the same goal in mind to take care of our customers just like we would each other is just the way that it should be. It's the right thing to do. And we just don't know anything else. I grew up, matter of fact, the only way that I learned how to run a business like this is that I grew up in a family owned business. And so my father and my uncle owned a commercial refrigeration business for 40 years. And that's what I did when I was not in school or doing something I needed to do. I was working for the family business. And I just understood that. And that's how I got to know, well, I was always told, you go do exactly what you were paid to do, and you always do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else will take care of itself. If you do everything you're supposed to and just give a little extra, that's going to set you apart from everybody else.
Tony, this is an unfair advantage. Most of your so-called competition, and I wouldn't consider most generator companies in the greater Houston area really a competitor of yours because you set yourself apart. But one of the biggest things is you are offering my listeners and your customers, your existing ones, something that isn't prevalent anymore. You go back years and generations, and there were these, mom and pop operators, family owned and operated businesses. And a lot of the companies that are in your space, the generator space for homeowners, are companies that don't have the family feel. They may be even owned by investors. So it's really all about the money. And if there's something I've learned over the decades I've been living, people want to do business with people. And they want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And that's one reason why I encourage your existing customers to call into the radio program. It's important that my listeners understand that you're not just another company. You're not just another generator company. The only thing that's kind of generic is Generac, meaning that's the product. People have heard about it, but that's where it ends. Once that great product is installed, you now have to deal with the company that's going to service it. And that's the big difference, Tony. You guys.
Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, I just don't know any other way to do it. You do what you're supposed to do, and you treat everybody like they're your family, and everything else will take care of itself. And it's every once in a while we get a kick out of it. Somebody been often say, so and so's on the phone, and I'll just spit out something about that homeowner. Oh, remember such and such, whatever about them. It's like, how do you possibly remember that? Well, it's just when you take time to get to know the people that are supporting your family. I mean, this is how we make a living. It is through selling and servicing Generac generators. Then it is in my interest to know these people and care for these people and think, well, I want to do, if there's something else I can share with my staff that they may get to know them better, then I think that's my job to do. And so that we can better help them in the future.
I totally agree. Here is Tony's number. Call him now, 281-805-8340. If you've just tuned in, I'm talking with the owner of Action Generator. His name is Tony. You may have heard him here before on the Check a Pro radio show. He's the head honcho, and he has his family working at the company with him, which is fantastic. Notice I didn't say for you, with you. I think that's important too. I'm sure they do report to you, but it's really an important distinction that you guys work as a team. You're going to get a free consultation. Not all generator companies will do that. That means Tony and his team will come out absolutely free and take a look at your home, at your property, to figure out what the best configuration, the best options are for a Generac generator. When you get your new generator, he's going to throw in a free surge protector. I asked Tony to bring something special, and he said, yeah, we can do a surge protector. That's about a $400 cost to us, but yeah, I'll throw that in. And I think it's great because that surge protector is going to be able to save my listeners' belongings. Their electronics and so forth are going to be protected with a whole home surge protector. And then I said, okay, what else can you do? And he said, well, I don't ordinarily do this, Jim, but let's do the service agreement for the first year at our cost at Action Generator. It's a $475 value. So really, there's just about $1,000 worth of freebies here. Call now, 281-805-8340. Get your free, no obligation consultation, 281-805-8340. If after Tony and his team come out and they look at it and they give you the recommendation, which they always do, they can always make sure that you can have backup generation power through Generac. If it's not something that you absolutely don't want to do right now, then that's okay. They're not going to do high pressure sales. They may follow up with you in a couple months if you ask them to. You can always call them later and they'll come back out again. The price might change, the offers may change, but they'll be there for you. So don't worry about calling today for the no obligation free consultation. 281-805-8340. You must have like hundreds of customers by now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no no doubt. And that was part of what I wanted to mention. You said something, we're talking about the service agreement that's going to be free to these listeners and for the first year. And that's something that's a bit unique for us compared to all the competition. And that is we're coming out every 6 months. So we're coming out twice a year. So at 6 months, we're coming to do kind of a wellness check. And we want to do that because two main reasons. The first is critters love electronics, just like in your breaker panel, in your air conditioning system outside, the ants, the everything. I just call them all the critters out in the yard. So we come in, we make sure that's not an issue, not becoming a problem. The other thing that we do that is the most important thing is to load test the battery. It's an engine, right? So it has to have some ability to crank and run just like your car does. So there's a battery on board. That battery, if it's not being checked, let's say that we came out at 6 months and the battery was at 50%. Well, we're likely to recommend that we change that battery. It's got a life, just like in your car. Everybody's had a battery go dead in their car. Well, it's always a surprise, right? But it may not be if you were load testing that battery every 6 months in your car. You could see over time it's declining in health and it says, okay, I'm at 50%. You likely would say, hey, let's go ahead and change it now before I'm broke down somewhere and it won't start when I need it to start and run. There's no difference in the generator. That's the same situation that could happen. So we load test that battery at 6 months. At 12 months, we come back, we do the exact same thing, load test again, every time, and not just check voltage. And I know this is kind of getting in the weeds. However, voltage, it could have 12 volts in the battery like it should all year long, but not enough amperage in the battery to actually start the generator to run. It's just a huge difference. So let's just say at 12 months, we check the battery. It's great. No worries there. It's at, 75% or better. We're happy with that. And then we change the oil, the filters, the spark plugs. We adjust valves if necessary, and just a whole list of things that we do while we're there. And on top of all that, 24/7 monitoring is part of that fee. And so we're seeing that from here. So let's just say, for example, that it tried to crank and run at month 9 in the service agreement, and it didn't. The battery or something else didn't allow it to run. We immediately get noticed from the LTE device that's on there to our office, and your generator shows up on our screen showing us that, hey, there's a problem here we need to address. And so we can roll a truck at that point. Typically, we're calling the homeowner and they're like, well, why are you calling? Well, because your generator tried to start and run and it didn't. So we're trying to be proactive here to make sure that if there's an outage next week, that we've already addressed this and got your generator back online and running again. So it's nice and healthy again. That is probably one of the most beneficial things to having a service agreement.
I think it's critical. Something that you didn't mention, which I want to bring up now, is that your Generac generator every week is going to do a self-test. It automatically turns on for a little while, which is good. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm the homeowner, I get used to that coming on. So I'm like, okay, I feel confident that it's going to come on when it needs to. But I'm going to guess it also sends back some information back to you guys saying it did start. I mean, is there a record of that somewhere saying, yeah, we can look back at the last 5 weeks to see that it did?
Absolutely. And that's what the monitoring does for us,
Mhm.
is that records that. And so I can see it right here in the office. And the exercise, it can be set for any duration or any time frame. We just, because we're in this humid market, the environment that we're in is so humid in the Houston market that Generac says it can be every couple of weeks if you want, once a month, whenever. We do it weekly because we want that generator. It runs for about 5 to 10 minutes out in the yard. It does not transfer to the home. It just runs in the yard and it gets up to operating temperature. And then because it does that, it burns off any kind of moisture that's inside all these electrical components. So for me, as an engineer or having an engineering background, I'm thinking, well, that's probably a pretty good thing to do. Even if we didn't have the monitoring, which we do, it would still be a benefit to the generator to warm it up once a week, burn all this condensate off of it, the moisture out of it, and then it's ready to go. Great question.
Call Tony right now at Action Generator. Like when I say call now, there's only 3 of these offers left. If you just tuned in and you're like, hey, I like what I'm hearing. I thought about getting a Generac generator, but didn't know who to call. Well, call Tony, 281-805-8340. You're not calling to buy one over the phone. You're going to get a free consultation. There's no obligation. 281-805-8340. You're going to get the free consultation with no obligation. You're going to get a free surge protector worth $400 and a service agreement worth $475, where Tony and his team come out twice a year. Now, you're not going to get the freebies if you don't get a new generator. I don't want anyone calling saying, hey, I heard I'm going to get a free surge protector. You are when you get your new generator. Call now, 281-805-8340, 281-805-8340. I don't know how long Tony's going to be able to offer this on my radio program. He's on the show today, obviously. He's got this offer. I think it is phenomenal. For under $200 a month, you can actually get a fully installed Generac generator that will bring the power back to where it should be if it goes off from your utility company. I don't want to get into that, but we know, and I think it was Beryl where it really came to the forefront, where CenterPoint was up against the ropes. Was it Beryl where they got in so much trouble where they couldn't provide electricity for everybody?
Yeah, Beryl, and in the ice storm
The
prior
freeze,
to that.
yeah.
The freeze was a real issue for them also.
But that was the whole grid. So Texas went down for the most part. So most of Texas, from what I understand, was without power back in February 2021. When Beryl came through, that's probably the straw that broke a lot of people's backs. I'm sure that you got a lot of orders for generators at that point. I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy guy or that I'm all doom and gloom. I like to think that I see things coming, Tony. So I'm going to make a prediction with my crystal ball. Within the next few months, certainly within the next couple of years, I believe here in our community, in the greater Houston area, not to mention the rest of the country, certainly us, we're going to be affected one way or another with a long-term power outage, like we have been with some storms, but I think possibly longer and cross more counties. In other words, more people be affected. The bigger we are, the harder we fall. You do not want to be, especially in the summertime, without power. It's one thing to be off in December or March. Not as bad, but in the dead of winter, and certainly the heat of the summer, you have to move out. You cannot be there. Everything will spoil. All your refrigeration will be bad, and you will not be able to live in your home because it's just too darn hot and humid. I'm glad that I got you on the show, Tony, because what keeps coming back to me is, can people afford this? Because they want it. They really need it. It improves the value of their home, but can they afford it? And I keep coming back to less than $200 a month, and then after you pay it off, you get to keep it? And then it's worth more, or your property's worth more, because you've invested in this asset. Let's talk a little bit about how important it is to have that asset when you decide to flip your house, right? When you decide to move and someone's moving in, they're like, hey, I've got a generator. I don't have to go buy one now.
Right. So, for example, let's say that you're looking in a subdivision in the Woodlands, Texas, and there are two homes for this conversation. Let's say they're relatively the same. You like both the homes. One of them happens to have a whole home generator on it, and the other one doesn't. Which home do you think is most likely to sell? Right? It's the one with the generator. And the person that's selling, so it's a benefit for both the buyer and the seller. The seller is going to get their money out of the generator because it's going to appraise for more. The homeowner that's purchasing the home is going to be excited that I don't have to deal with this, that I'm actually going to buy a house that already has a generator and I'm getting it for a fair price at this point. So the other thing, Jim, that I wanted to mention, that during the freeze, and again, I'm not an alarmist either, but I'm just here to tell you from personal experience, walking into customers' homes that didn't have a generator during that freeze, it was devastation. The water lines that were ruptured, the destruction in the homes was it's just something that you would have to walk into one of those homes and realize that from upstairs to downstairs, it was destroyed. And they spent so much money repairing and rebuilding their homes. We put so many generators in those type of homes because they said this will never happen to them again. They couldn't run their heat, right? Because people think that when there's a freeze and it's in the winter, well, if we lose power, not a big deal, right? We'll just turn the heat on because we have natural gas to our house and our furnaces are run on natural gas. That is true. However, if there's no electricity to run the blower motor, it can't get from the furnace in the attic into the home. There's no electricity for that to happen. And so that misconception that I have gas heat, that's not going to be a problem, is just not the case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, call Tony right now. Action Generator is the name of his company. 281-805-8340. 281-805-8340. Only a couple of these offers left today here on my show, the Checka Pro Radio Show. 281-805-8340. Jerry, thank you so much. I see on my screen that Phil is on the line. We're going to go out and talk to Phil over the telephone right now. Phil, can you tell me about your experience with Action Generator?
Our experience with them was fantastic from start to finish. They communicate well. The price was fair. Their crews were professional. It was a very positive experience from start to finish.
What is the favorite thing you love about your new generator?
Just the security. Living in the area that we do, we have a fair amount of weather events. So knowing that we're going to have power that runs our refrigerator, our air conditioning, et cetera, when we have one of those weather events is very important to us. So just being able to relax and know that we have that taken care of in case of a weather event is a very good feeling.
Absolutely. Phil, how long have you had your Generac generator?
About a year now, I think.
So there hasn't been any major event such as February 2021. The grid went down. We've had hurricanes in the past and other storms. So you're just waiting for that next problem, aren't you?
We are. And we kind of laugh that we're wondering when the next event's going to happen. Not that we want anybody's property to be damaged or to be there some severe issue, but we want our generator to kick in just to see how it does. So, we don't fear the next weather event, which is nice.
Yeah, I feel the same way about my new roof. After I got my new roof, I'm like, okay, let's get a long rainstorm because I've invested in this and I really want to test it out. The same thing with a generator. You actually, after you have it installed, you want to try it out for half a day or a day, hopefully not a week, right?
Right, absolutely. And we have had a couple instances in our neighborhood where we've lost power for a few hours. And it has kicked in and it's run like it's supposed to. So we know it's ready when the big weather event comes.
Yeah, what's amazing about a whole home generator, like these Generac products, is they just turn on even if you're not aware the power has gone off. Have you ever all of a sudden noticed the generator is running and it's bringing power into your home, but you didn't know the power was out?
We have, and you kind of realize you hear it. It's not loud, but you can tell it's on. And then we're kind of looking around, going, "Oh, our generator's on," and everything was working in the house just great. So you don't really realize the power's out, but everybody else in the neighborhood had their power out, and ours was just fine. So it's been great.
So, Phil, if the power goes out for a long period of time, are you worried about your neighbors wanting to move in with you?
I don't know that I'm worried that the neighbors will want to move in, but I have a feeling we'll be the place where everybody comes and charges their phones.
There could be a money-making opportunity there. So I'm sure when you put your head on the pillow seriously at night, you have more peace of mind than prior to getting your Generac generator?
Absolutely. And, I will say I do have a chronic medical condition, and being without power can be especially problematic for me. So having that security and knowing that I'm not going to have any issues is super important. Not only is the generator working exceptionally well, but just the people from Action Generator keep up with us. They are monitoring our generator. We know that they're keeping track to make sure that it's functioning properly. And that's just an added layer of security on top of having the generator. You've got a company that's looking out for you, and that's important.
I totally agree. Would you refer them to your neighbor, friends, or family?
Absolutely, without hesitation.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
You're welcome. Anytime.
So, Tony, as you know, I do a lot of radio programs. I talk to a lot of pre-qualified home service providers around Houston. I don't get as many phone calls from customers as I do from you guys. Being in the Generac generator business, people seem to be more excited than, getting a new air conditioning system or a new roof or a new electrical panel. So they don't call into the show as much. But when it comes to generators, I think people get excited because they feel a sense of power, no pun intended, but they're powerful because they are creating their own power plant. They feel that they're invincible when the storm comes through or when the power company fails. They're like, that's okay. I'm self-sufficient. It's kind of like someone who has a gun and traps that can hunt. They're like, don't worry about it. If Kroger and H-E-B close, I'm good. And so they get excited. Like TJ called today and Phil called today. Would you agree with that?
That's absolutely the case. And, I hear it on a regular basis that I want to be the home that has a whole home generator so that my family and neighbors and friends know that I'm the guy or I'm the girl. This is the house that y'all can come to when there's an issue. Just like what you're talking about, right? You got people that can go hunt. They're not worried about the grocery store closing. They're going to go in the woods and they're going to survive. Same thing with folks that have the same mindset. I want to provide for the people around me, family and friends that I care about and neighbors. And I want my house to be that house that has the lights on.
I just thought about something, and maybe we talked about this before. I was like, you know what? Along the lines of someone who can hunt for their own food so they don't have to go to the grocery store if something happens, like, let's say that there is a power outage, right? And the store is closed, which they do, and it's dark. You have to find your own food. But think about all the people who aren't driving internal combustion engine vehicles. They need to power their EV vehicle. And if they don't have a generator, they're out of luck.
They're absolutely out of luck.
So no matter how much gas you have in gas cans in your shed or your garage, it's not going to do you any good to operate your Tesla, right? So there's so many car companies going electric. You need to have something to plug your car into. And I think it's a no-brainer. You need a generator.
No doubt about it. We put generators in all the time. That's one of the biggest questions we ask is, do you have an EV charger? Do you drive an EV? Because if you do, we absolutely need to address that because I mean, some people still have, one of each kind, a combustion engine or a EV. But like you're saying, there are a lot of households that have only electric vehicles. That is going to be a problem. And so we address that and to make sure that we're providing enough power to charge those EVs. The other thing too is that, and I was thinking about this when you were talking about the EVs, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can go hunt for food, but what about the basic necessity, water, right? A lot of people think, well, I'm in the city, I just turn the water on. Yeah, so that water supply likely will be able to provide that to those homeowners. However, if you live out of the city like we do, I'm on a water well. If my electricity goes out, I got no water, right? All of my utilities are gone at this point. So without a generator, we don't have running water, and that can be an issue. In fact, during the freeze or after the freeze, the great state of Texas says, if you are a water provider for these communities all over the place, that it is now state law that you have to have backup generation power for all of these little bitty water plants all over the place. They said, look, we can do without electricity. We can't expect people to go without water.
I'll be honest with you, when we had the power outage in February 2021, our water went out because our utility company could not pump the water, which was a blessing in disguise because we lost water pressure, which means when the pipes froze, it didn't matter because there was no water in them. So that was a convenient byproduct. Luckily, the power wasn't out that long in our situation, but a lot of people were. The show is coming to an end, Tony. I'm going to give out your phone number again and the offer. 281-805-8340. Call now to get your free, no obligation Generac consultation from Tony and his team from Action Generator. You'll get a whole home surge protector. It's a free surge protector valued at $400 when you get your new generator, and a service agreement, an annual one, worth $475. They come out twice a year to make sure everything is running correctly. Jerry tells me we only have one of these left. Call now, 281-805-8340. No obligation. You don't have to buy anything over the phone. If the phone lines are jammed up, leave a message. That happens a lot. We get a lot of phone calls from the Check a Pro radio show, and Tony will get calls. So if you can't get through, just leave a message, 281-805-8340. Tony, as always, thank you so much for joining me here today on the show.
You bet, Jim. Thanks so much.
And thanks to everyone for joining me again this week here on the Check a Pro radio show. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Check a Pro radio show. For more information on how to select the right contractor for your project, visit our website, checkaproradioshow.com. Join us again next week at the same time.